Well, you might have heard by now, especially look, if you're flying away for Christmas, could be domestically, overseas. We are coming into the busiest time at airports, and around 1,200 Air New Zealand cabin crew have voted for strike action across 3 separate collective agreements. It could mean, if it's not curtailed before the 8th of December, 10 to 15,000 passengers will be affected if the cabin crew go ahead with their planned strike. The industrial action, as I said, it's slated for December 8, is being held as the airlines largely unionised crew demand greater salaries and allowances. To tell us more about this, aviation commentator, friend of the show, Irene King, is with us. Irene, good afternoon.
Hello there.
Lovely to talk. Geez, it's been the year of strike action, hasn't it?
Sure has, hasn't it?
Sure has. Now, if they decide to strike, what would Air New Zealand do? Meaning no crew, no flying for the day?
Well, one of the problems is how do you define a day in the airlines? Because the airlines operate across multiple time zones. And so that's always been very tricky. But certainly I think you can say that anything in Australasia and the South Pacific will be disrupted because that's sort of point-to-point, end-to-end flying. I would say anything up into Asia, that's pretty much defined as a day, and that will be disrupted when you look at stuff coming out of the United States, because they're actually a day behind us.
Oh, yes.
So the definition of a day is quite interesting. So
I hear what you're saying. I never thought of that.
Down your tools, yes. And of course, if you don't work, you don't get paid. And so if you're in Los Angeles, it gets a bit expensive. If you're up there on a layover. So there are some things that are quite unique to airlines.
Yes.
And that's one of them. Yeah.
In the past, Irene, there has been strike action before by the airlines over the years. Is this one of the, I think it was at 2022 maybe there was, but that was only like 44 for some strange reason, cabin crew. Is this if this happens, is this one of the biggest?
Yes, it is really significant. And yes, it's significant in the sense that, I can't recall a flight attendant actually walking off the job for, maybe 20 years. So it is quite significant in that respect. But I think what we're coming off the back of is, Air New Zealand has really valued its staff. It was very profitable and everyone shared in the gain. And now we're at the point where there's a lot of pain around in this airline. And I would imagine that the discussion is something along the lines of, well, how do we share the pain? And that's a really tough conversation to have for both parties. And getting to the nexus of an agreement is extraordinarily tough in that scenario. And we've seen it in health and teachers.
Schools.
But
everywhere.
we don't expect to see it in our airlines yet. I think this is probably just the beginning of a trend that we will see as airline profitability, Air New Zealand's right down it. Well, we hope it's at the bottom of the bottom, in terms of its performance. But it's all cyclical and linked to, your domestic economy. And so it's a tough conversation.
Well, the airline CEO says they're meeting with unions later this week to avoid strike action. He's working really hard to avoid it because, of course, chaos ensues.
Oh, absolutely.
But the crew members' base pay sits at about 58 to 85,000, and they say salaries aren't just about the base pay. It doesn't reflect the real risks and fatigue involved in their rosters. Irene, I don't work in the industry. I don't know what they have to put up with. If they got a point, what are they talking about? Real risks and fatigue?
Well, I think. Can I deal with fatigue first? Because that's something that is quite manageable, and And as I understand it, Air New Zealand has a fantastic fatigue management regime, and that applies to pilots and flight attendants. And that has never been the subject of industrial disputes since it was put in place. Okay, so it's been in place maybe 20, 25 years. And it's computer-based, and it's based on your actual fatigue. So it monitors a lot of data points, and so it's actual, what people are actually feeling.
Right.
And fatigue is also used as an excuse or a proxy for other problems, such as, your pay and your conditions. And I think that's kind of really where nice terms, high risk, fatigue, but the reality is that there is no alignment between what the company is prepared to offer in terms of base pay and conditions and the union. Well, it's not aligned yet, but knowing both of these parties and the unions involved, these are incredibly respected unions, and they are very respectful, and they do understand this concept of, Air New Zealand carrying the New Zealand flag and banner. And so, they are respectful of the prestige that carries with the role. And so I would imagine that if you get that nexus of the two parties, that we will not have a strike.
You don't think it'll happen? Yeah.
Well, look, I knowing both parties, they will be working extraordinarily hard to get agreement. And we're not dealing with a union that is a renegade union or anything like that. These are incredibly
it's not a PPTA.
responsible.
What about the customers,
I
though?
didn't say that.
I said that. Irene, what about the customers, though? Let's just say flights are cancelled. It goes ahead on the 8th of December.
Yes.
I mean, will we be compensated, surely? I mean, at the cost, again, of the airline?
Well, again, compensation is an interesting concept in the airline environment. One, if you start booking now, you know about the strike. So therefore, I would imagine you will get a credit. You won't get your money back because you know about the potential for that.
Sure.
Those that have already booked, again, it depends on what the conditions say on your ticket, but I would imagine that you will receive pretty precise advice. I'm not saying it's early advice, because they don't like to disrupt people unnecessarily, but you will get very precise advice of, if you want to rebook, here are the options. And I noticed that they are very flexible in terms of the options, like you don't have all this change of ticket and change of flight costs, because this is something that is involuntary that you're having to do.
Interesting
Sorry.
you say that, though. No, that you said that, they will give you precise detail of what could happen, because I don't know if you saw it, there's a piece written on the weekend by Bruce Cotterill, who is a director and advisor to business leaders. He basically said that our domestic, this is domestic, okay, not international, but he was saying our domestic travel experience is very, very expensive, and the customer experience is currently very, very poor. He quotes the three same reasons Air New Zealand gives for delays and cancellations: engineering issues, staff shortages, and bad weather. And it's not just upset staff, it's upset passengers, isn't it, as well?
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I was one of those delayed passengers last week, and, got home at midnight. At least I got home. But, you think, well, how can this be? Beautiful, fine day in the morning, and then they start to run later and later and later and later. But, New Zealand's weather is frolicking, to say the least, and it changes a lot. So we can expect weather disruptions. I think, what is really, really troubling is the crew delays, the crew disruptions, because they've run out of crew. Now, that should not ever happen.
Yeah.
And that's where passengers are entitled to direct financial monetary compensation.
Yes.
And of course, the third scenario is maintenance, and I think we all agreed that we'd prefer that the aircraft didn't fly, and we're probably, we're pretty tolerant in saying, well, I don't want to be dead on time.
I think what he was writing was, it's been going on for years now, and he's done it, but the prices keep going up. So he's like, well, if we're not getting a better service, why are we being charged more?
Absolutely. And I'm a total supporter of this whole concept of value for money, because I don't think that we do get value for money domestically in New Zealand. And I do think there are a lot of things, this company's cost base is still way out of whack. And there are lots of different pricing strategies and methodologies you can use to price product domestically. I know that we've been in a cost plus environment, and that to me is unacceptable, because it just indicates to me that your management are not sharp, and they are putting all of their focus offshore and not into the domestic base. And yet it's the domestic base that you have to really be aligned and be passionately supporting and absolutely committed to, because that's where you make your money.
Yeah. All right. So I'm sure we'll find out in the coming week or so whether industrial action will happen, strikes for in New Zealand. Who knows? Moving on, passengers leaving Singapore are now going to be hit with a new green fuel tax. Yes, from October the 1st next year, the Civil Aviation of Singapore will introduce what they're calling a Sustainable Aviation Fuel Levy, or a SAF. But those in transit through the country won't be charged. Irene, this kind of feels like a big deal to me. How significant is this Singapore SAF levy for the aviation industry?
Well, I think they have to be extraordinarily careful, because, they have to think about Singapore as a hub. And if we were just talking about cheaper airfares, well, people will just start avoiding Singapore. Yeah. And so there is some real potential here for Singapore to devalue its competitive products that they offer. However, in saying that, Singapore is also one of the big producers of SAF, and so I imagine that this is about taking a price signal and saying, if you want to buy SAF off us, then you're going to have to pay this levy. Right. And so there's a lot more to the story. It's got to give. That's got to give. And we, as passengers, will make a decision as to whether we still want to fly Singapore Airlines, or we're happy to go over.
And for those are wondering what SAF is, it's sustainable aviation fuel made from things like using used cooking oil and animal fats, which gets blended with regular jet fuel. Do you think?
I mean, it's undoubtedly the solution, but it's just not quite there at the moment.
And I mean, but how? So then, is there a heavy burden for airlines to go green? I mean, is this a blueprint for other countries?
Look, it's not green. It's about running your business efficiently. And the biggest gains at the present time are with engine efficiency, and everything is still predicated around getting more and more bang for your bucks out of your engines. But fuel is the next issue on the agenda. And certainly SAF is an option. It looks a very good option. But what's marching down the track is hydrogen technology. And so it's going to be a race to the green line. Who's going to get there first? Is it going to be hydrogen, or is it going to be SAF? At the moment, SAF is significantly ahead, right? And hydrogen's got some catch up, but at the end of the day, hydrogen is extremely green and very cheap relative to SAF.
Interesting.
And cheaper than our existing hydrocarbons. So that's the marathon that we're talking about, and hydrogen will be the winner.
Ah, better hear first from Irene. Finally, Irene, is with aviation changing and wanting to be more efficient and improving services and safety for passengers, I saw a story that according to CETA Air Transport IT Insights, airlines worldwide are investing about 37 billion USD in AI and biometrics, while airports are investing 8.9 billion in IT. So AI has the potential to be used for more precise refueling, scanning engine blades, to meals that are eaten on board. Is this is the way of the future, I gather, for airlines?
Oh, absolutely. Anywhere that has a control interface, and is not, how can I put this, not having to be quite precise, it doesn't go to the bones of your safety threat, or your safety risks, I should say. Anything that is on the periphery, AI will undoubtedly drive costs down, and airlines is all about controlling your cost.
Yeah.
So AI is going to do things quicker, faster, and cheaper.
Yes.
But you do not let it go into your core safety systems.
No.
Because if you corrupt that core safety system by something that is less than intelligent, then the risks are enormous. And so for the airlines, that is the trick. How do you bind your core safety system into your business, and you'd have artificial intelligence interacting all over your business, but you can only have it interacting in anything but your core safety.
Because I thought about this, and I read the story, and I thought, oh gosh, I get it, because AI is like everywhere, but because it can analyze the engine of the aircraft, but then of course it gives more data, it can give insight, but ultimately humans are still going to be needed to make the call, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And yes, we may use AI as an assist, like we have Copilot here, which is quite cool. But at the end of the day, it's pulling observations in from multiple experiences, and it's about building up your experiences. Now, experiences is addressed through using all of your senses, and AI is not capable of using all of them, pulling it all together.
Maybe in time, Irene.
Well,
maybe not now. Maybe in time. Yeah. Who knows?
It will, but it'll never go to your core safety system, because that's got to have an absolute armor plating around it. Because you get something dumb in there and the results are catastrophic.
Yeah. Irene, always a pleasure. I appreciate your time. That is Irene King, Aviation Commentator.